fat bag of awesome. And it's not that you're big, and it's not that you're fat.
Hello everybody, my name is Adam Kidd and I am the FX Kid, and what we want to do today is get folks into some really basic training mode. So if you have been using Blender for quite some time, maybe this is not quite what you want to do, but if you're very new to the program and you're one of those guys who or gals who installed the software, realized that it wasn't exactly what you had in mind, and then got frustrated and left it there, well, this is going to help you out. And what we're going to do today is make a diamond. And I know that may sound a little bit basic or a little bit silly, but what we're hoping is that this will show you how to do some basic extruding, some face making, and we'll sort of navigate from there. So over time, as we make this a little bit more sophisticated, you'll pick up a few skills. And I'm going to do things kind of nice and slow, so if you have any issues with my pace, I do apologize for that. Again, this is more for those who have never really touched the software before and need some help. So we're inside of Blender right now, and the version of Blender that we are on is Blender 2.78, and you can recognize that with our happy RoboCop Blender guy. I really don't know what he is, but that's gosh darn cool. I think it's RoboCop. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure that our settings are in place. So if we go to User Preferences, and on our left-hand side here, you'll see we have a whole bunch of options to choose. And just to make sure everyone's on the right page, I always make sure that I select with my left mouse button. I find that very important because most software works the same way. For some reason, Blender just really likes to, by default, work with the right hand. I'm assuming it's because maybe there's a programmer that's left-handed. I don't know. Anyway, by default, I select with the left hand, and I'm going to save my user settings. So once I close that, I have what's called my default cube. Now, with my default cube, I can do lots and lots and lots of things, but, well, the first thing I'm going to do is the thing I do in pretty much all of my tutorials, and that is to delete the default cube. And you just hit delete. That'll do it for you. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add, and I'm going to add a UV or a mesh circle. And it's going to drop that circle down right there, but I want to change the parameters. And the way to do that is down here on our bottom left-hand corner, we have the properties of the circle. And I'm going to bump that all the way down to 3. And now what we have is a triangle. Anything smaller than that, and it wouldn't be a circle. So we want to bump it up a little bit more. Just a little bit more information there. 4, well, that's a square. 5, that'll work, but not for what I want to do at the moment. 6, there we go. All right, now if I am to go into edit mode or anything like that, it'll actually undo these, or it'll turn these properties off. So I won't be able to make any more changes to it, but I'm fine with that. So let's go ahead and hit Tab to go into edit mode. And there we have, well, it's not exactly a circle anymore, but it'll work for what we need. Let's hit the Tab button to go into edit mode, and you'll notice that it's changed just ever so slightly. There's these little points that are showing up on each corner, and these points are called vertices. So with the vertices, you can actually select those one at a time, or you can select all of them by doing one of a couple of things. You can shift click, just like you would a file on your computer, all right? Or you could just press A to select all of them, and you think you need to actually press that once or twice. Oh, this time it's working. All right, there you go. So they're all selected. And you can also do what's called a box select. So let's unselect them. And the way to do a box select is hit B, and it'll bring up this little cursor there for you, and just highlight everything, and there you go, all done. So we don't really need it for its vertices right now. We need it for something else, something called the edges. So right now, the edges, same story. And this time around, I'm just going to speed things up by hitting the A button. All right. And what I want to do is I want to give some faces to this. And the way to do that is to actually extrude the edges down. And to do that, I'm just going to hit the E button. Now what that's doing is that's letting me pull down some new information that I created, and the computer by default connected some faces to it. All right. Now you're going to notice it's kind of weird shaped. It's kind of oblong. It's kind of crooked. All right. And that's not good for what we need to do. And I'll tell you why that happened. When I hit extrude, it just pulled down at the angle it was facing, which was a bit of a weird angle. So again, that's not going to be good for us. And the way to get around that is to just E to extrude and then pick your axis. So let me just undo this again. To clarify that, there are 3 types of axes, and there's your y-axis, and that's generally going to go right here. So it's sort of your front to back. And then you're going to have your x-axis. That's usually your left to right. However, if you're working in 2D space, it's going to be more like that. It's going to be your up and down and your left and right. But there's another axis to consider, and that is our z-axis. And the z-axis goes up and down. So let's try this again. We're going to E to extrude, and we are going to hit the Z button. And what that's going to do is that's going to pull everything down uniformly. All right, and it'll go like that. So for those of you who are a little bit more advanced, maybe using other software, what you're going to find out is that the normals are actually inverted. So what the normals are is that's where the skin of the diamond is. So just imagine that instead of us building a diamond, we're building a person. Right now our person is inside out. And we can fix that, but we won't worry about it right this moment. All right. So the first thing we've got to do is make this look more like a diamond. So we're going to select our vertices, all right, in that vertice mode. And as you see, it's already selected them. All right, and that's just because that's the last thing we were working with. But for some reason or another, let's say you weren't. Again, what would you do? Box select, maybe. All right. One thing to consider though is, like, let's say we're facing like this, where we don't have anything behind us, and I went into box select mode. What would happen here is the other side of the diamond would not be illuminated, and that's because we need to make sure that we can see through everything. So next to your vertices there is a little box, and that's your clipper. And as you see there, you can see the little buttons. Highlight everything there. All right, and now everything is selected. What we want to do is we want to make sure that all of those little vertices there become one. And the way to do that is to merge them. And you can do that a couple of ways. One way is mesh, vertices, merge. All right, or another way is to hit Alt M. Or another way, which usually works for me, is W, and that'll bring up all your special features, and then merge. And you want to merge it at the center. All right, so now we got something that's starting to resemble a diamond. I mean, you know, kind of. And let's carry on. So the same effect that we did before, when we pulled everything down, we're now going to pull everything up. E to extrude, and remember, it's on the Z-axis. Up. Now, diamonds don't exactly look like that, at least not the diamonds I see in cartoons. So what I want to do is I want to scale that in a little bit. All right, that looks more like it. That looks like something Scrooge McDuck would be chasing after. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is add a top to this. And we could do this one of a couple of ways. Again, the first one would be to just hit F, and that'd make a face. All right. But the trouble with that face is that it's actually a whole bunch of zigzags. So it's like connecting this one and this one and this one, and then connecting this spot and this spot and this spot, and then connecting this spot and this spot and this spot, and then connecting. So it's a lot of faces. And we don't like that. The reason behind that is, let's say we wanted to create a simulation. And that simulation involves, 500 diamonds. And we're just going to use the same diamond over and over again. The trouble with that is going to be, if we have all these little extra faces here, then we've just increased our render time. So we want to bring that down a little bit. And the easiest way to do that is to find the least amount of material required to make this face. All right, and then anyone who's worked with metal or cut wood or anything like that would know you want to find the least amount of you want to use up the least amount of stuff. So I found we'll break it up into 4s, 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna have an imaginary line here that's going to be created. And hit F, and then as you see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've now broken it down into just 2 faces, and that is going to be a lot easier to render in the future. So for those of you wondering, how the heck is he navigating around like this, making it spin around? I'm actually just doing that by pressing down on my middle mouse button. And I just press and drag. Maybe I should have said that before. You know what? I'll throw a note in. Anyway. Now let's take a look at the problem we had before with our image being inside out. All right. So we're on face select mode, and you can tell because there's a little square in the center. So again, that's the third part of our 3D object, is the face, vertices, edges, and faces. And what we want to do is, let me just demonstrate that again. The little plus sign there, click, and it'll open up. And if we go down, there should be an option, normals. And again, you want to make sure you're in edit mode when you do this. And hit display through the faces. And what you're going to find is you're going to see these little teeny tiny blue spots there. That's not what we want. We want to have these big long lines coming out. So the way to do that is to make sure everything is selected. And we're going to go to mesh, normals, and we're going to choose flip normals. And there you go. It's going to put those lines on the outside now. And you'll notice it's much lighter. That's because the skin is on the outside. So that is basically like very easy beginner stuff for Blender, or for any 3D program for that matter. What we've done is we've successfully shown how to merge vertices, how to extrude, how to make a face, just some basic stuff. And if you want to render it out, you see, so you can, say, hey, I made my diamond. Just go ahead and make sure your presets are all set up there, and hit render image. It's nothing special. All right, and what's happening here is the light from our phantom light here is projecting down onto the diamond, and then the diamond is reflecting that light backwards this way. All right, and these are sort of imaginary photons, and the camera is just sort of catching what's in its field of view, right? So just imagine, it should look kind of like that. So if we want to manipulate things any further, maybe we should take a look at our next video, where we'll start twisting things around. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, and we'll talk to you later.
You're a big fat bag of awesome. You're a big fat bag of awesome. And it's not that you're big, and it's not that you're fat, and it's not that you're a bag. It's just that you're a big fat bag of awesome. You're a big fat bag